Welcome back to the Apex Racing League GT Championship. Apologies for the little break that we've had, just a couple of broadcasting problems, but we've dealt with them, and we should be back for this 40-minute race. Once again, I'm Seth Fitzpatrick. Once again, alongside me is Aaron Hedgecock. A change, though. A change for it's not Angie Woodhouse, it's Alex Simpson in the operating their cameras now. We've dealt with Sam
Evening.
Kume. Safe to say he won't be causing any problems for us anymore, Sam Kume. Yeah, welcome, Alex, to the broadcast. We are about to get underway this formation lap. Only an 8-car reverse grid. It was -12. Only 20 were eligible for it in race 1. That means that Mike Horder, as we've become accustomed to, will be starting on the front row of the grid for this race 2. He's got a couple of second places recently. You would not bet against that again for this race 2. Adjunsons potentially could bring himself into championship contention. A third top 3 here would give him a chance at the amateur championship win. Tom McMahon, bar any scrapes and battles, he should be able to take the championship as well by the end of this 40-minute race. We are underway then, the green flag is out, and it's Mike Horder leading away the pack. What can Humphrey do? Already Powell getting past Lisa. Strong start for him. There goes a move down the inside for the Indy Autosport driver of Adjunson, but it wasn't quite there. Horder in the middle of the circuit. Side by side for the Evo SR cars in 3rd and 4th. Really good start for Salt. He's straight away past Humphrey, and that's a big move for him. Salt, many podiums in races 2 already, and he's trying to do the same thing again. There he goes down the inside of Adjunson. He knows that there's no time to lose. Horder a little bit wide further ahead, and look at this. Salt with a really poor exit, and now there's a spin between the two of them and right into the middle of the circuit. Who has hit him? I think McMahon managed to get through it. However, Vysokopska did make contact, I believe, and will be sending well down the order. A few fast repairs will need to be used. That was just a check-up seemingly from Adjunson. Salt made contact with him, and he was stuck in the middle of the circuit for a split second, and many others came across him. I think McMahon may have lost some time, may have to take evasive action. Meanwhile, Powell is up into second place now. He's up 4 places from his start, and then it's Humphrey, then it's Salt. Edwards up a few places as well. Dean Powell as well, spectacular start for him, already up into 8.
That was a bit crazy, wasn't it? Coming up the hill, so easy to lose the rear there. The tyres, when they're cold, they do get a little bit washy coming up the hill, and we saw some contact, unfortunately, for Kitterman, the biggest casualty of that. But you're right, McMahon did lose a couple of places in there. I don't know whether he's got any damage though, but Vysokopska, he was the big one. He was the GRT car that we saw going up in the air, bouncing around a little bit. So maybe he's going to have to come in, and maybe that's just handed the title to McMahon.
Vysokopska had to outscore McMahon by 27 points, I believe, going into this round. That would basically mean Vysokopska winning, and McMahon being down around 10th place. Would need to be the overhaul after winning race 1 for Vysokopska, and it does look like the championship is heading towards Evo SR. Once again, McMahon, apart from that race 2 non-finish at Silverstone, has just been faultless, and at the moment, Vysokopska on course for his first outside top 10 result of the season. However, he is up there in 11th place, as you can see, and he seems to have decent pace at the moment. In fact, he just set the fastest second sector of anyone. So maybe he's alright. There doesn't seem to be a whole lot of damage either on that car, so I'm sure we'll see a replay of that crash maybe later on in the event to really see who was involved in it. But Vysokopska up another place here, past Daniel Sivy-Sabo. So here it was then, the 111 car. He was actually alongside, I think that's Edward here, and Vysokopska, oh, that was a huge hit, wasn't it? And remarkably,
Wow.
The car doesn't seem to be that bad.
How has he got away with that? I can tell you from experience, having done Le Mans in the Porsche, it's never been that strong for me. So don't know how he's managed to get away with that one, but he's underway again, and wow, that's a stroke of luck. Will that pay off come the end of the race? We'll have to wait and see. What it does mean, though, for Horder out at front, this could be third time lucky. He could be breaking that duck, Sam, because McMahon is still in 6th, and we saw how hard it is to pass here. Maybe this is the one for Mike Horder.
And you Edwards won't let McMahon go easily. I mean, I'm sure he's now going to prove me wrong. Look at Powell as well. Remember race one at Watkins when he crushed the order. But this is by far Powell's second best meeting of the season. He's been apart from that Watkins turn, which was honestly the biggest anomaly I've ever seen in a championship before, where he's usually around between 5th and 10th is Powell, and then in that race, pole position, comfortable race win, incredible. But he's right on the back of Horder at the moment. Does seem to have the pace advantage. These two are very evenly matched in race one. Maybe Powell with a slight advantage, but it was tricky to tell because Horder, of course, making contact with Edwards and being sent down the pack. But you can see the top 10 pretty much all on the pit straight at the moment. And it's boosted leading still, 26.8. McMahon faster up the race at 26.2, so 6/10 of a second faster at the moment for the champion to be.
It's weird, isn't it? Because this track is nothing like Watkins Glen.
No.
It's really so I don't know how we've gone from Watkins to here with all of the great tracks we visited in between that are more like Watkins than here, perhaps.
Spa is like the most similar circuit you can get, isn't it?
I would imagine so. Yeah, it's weird, and you're absolutely right. It is an anomaly, and I can't fathom it. Oh, we just saw.
Oh,
they're fighting for the front here.
Is going to be done here unless he sticks his nose back down the inside. The outside line often works very well for that corner, and through into lead is Aaron Powell, and a second race victory of the season is well on the cards now. Order being done down into the hairpin, and it doesn't seem like he defended a whole lot. And we were saying how we were surprised that Vasikowska didn't defend earlier on. Order pretty comfortable on the brakes. Once again, the driver on the inside always seems to be very careful going into that corner. Order with good pace on the outside, but then just this slide through the left ruins any chance of a comeback.
The trouble with going defensive, like the traditional defensive line into the hairpin, is that if who's got around? Saddington's around. You just hold the brakes and get going again. Shame for Saddington. He was going okay in this race as well, wasn't he?
Yeah, I think he was up into about 13th place.
Oh, what's happened? Oh, it gets a bit clumsy going into the to the right-hander. Is he gonna? Oh, he's just been clipped. Just been clipped from behind, and that sent him into a spin.
Yeah, Max Wolf with contact from behind. What were you saying about the hairpin?
So yeah, taking a traditional defensive line there isn't really going to be great if your competitor is good on the brakes, because he'll be able to hold it down the outside and have the inside for the next left-hander. So you kind of have to flip a coin. Do you go defensive and hope that they're not going to be better under braking, or do you hold the normal line and trust that you're better at braking, and which is what Horder tried to do there, but Powell was just better on the power coming out of the hairpin.
Bob Humphrey, another race winner this season. He was brilliant at Phillip Island, won comfortably on that occasion in race 2 when everyone else was falling off the circuit with high tyre degradation. We don't expect particularly high tyre degradation, but as Adam said right at the start of the stream, there is quite high tyre degradation around this circuit, but with it being so cool, this is late afternoon, and also you can see it's quite overcast as well. Should be all right for these drivers. It's incredibly close. I think it's quite difficult to appreciate around this circuit because there's not really any long straights, but the top 9 are all quite close at the moment. Vasikowska is only 9 seconds off the lead at the moment, despite having that big impact. He's trying to get past John Chester, who's having an awesome run at the moment for the C team. I think we've seen Chester run this high up so far this season. They did have a very good Spa, if I recall correctly, getting a 12th place, I think, on that occasion. As I say that, I can literally just see on his results, which I will look at in a moment, because here comes McMahon on Edwards to the outside. Will Adam's hypothesis be proven true? At the moment, McMahon not getting it done. However, he's still got the inside line for the next corner. I think he's just stayed behind at the moment, has Tom McMahon. Yeah, Edwards staying in 5th place for the time being.
Yeah, good good defending from Edwards there. But you could see what I was alluding to with that outside line. If you can carry the momentum, as we're seeing, it's like Jacqueline getting past Clist there, Saddington having a go as well behind. If you can carry that momentum, it's a real opportunity. But unfortunately for McMahon, it wasn't quite enough that time by though. Visa Kopska right over the back of Tressida now, isn't he? He's. I have a feeling that he might be driving a little bit angry at the moment. Getting caught up in someone else's accident has potentially put pay to his title. I want to say charge, defence, whatever he needed to do to stop McMahon from winning it tonight. It's all been taken away from him at this moment in time.
Yeah, McMahon would need to non-finish, or maybe finish last might be enough to finish a lap down. To score points in this race, you need to finish either on the lead lap or one lap down. And you know, it could turn terribly for McMahon. The walls around this circuit have to be near to the circuit, like those salts. Oh, McMahon's got past Edwards, has he? Edwards tries to stay around the outside of it. I think Edwards has come back actually against McMahon. There he goes. Well, I said he'd be feisty. He was feisty in race 1. And hey, back comes McMahon. He'll have the inside for the hairpin. Edwards hasn't been able to cover that one off. McMahon will try to block past him here. Edwards staying alongside. He'll have the inside for the next hairpin. McMahon can't finish him off. And Edwards stays ahead. McMahon just letting him have track position. He hasn't got a whole lot to lose here, McMahon. It's not like race 1 where second place was enough. I think he'd quite like to finish a few places higher than this one. He's currently 4.5 seconds ahead of Vysokopsko, who will be on his way. And these guys now 5 seconds off the race lead. But Edwards very much concentrating on what's behind him rather than concentrating on what's ahead of him.
What great driving that was from the pair of them. Brilliant defensive driving from Edwards. Real aggressive attacking driving from McMahon. Really kind of asking the questions of Edwards. You know, I'm going to put my car here, what are you going to do? And Edwards seemed to have all the answers. It was incredibly clean as well, which was brilliant to see. But yeah, McMahon having another look. He's right in the draft, isn't he? Edwards just dropped off the back of Salt a little bit, so he's not benefiting. Is Edwards going to take the defensive line again? No, he's letting McMahon have the inside this time. But a lock up from McMahon though. Edwards holding it around the outside.
He's always there. He opened up the steering and still managed to carry good speed through the corner. And he's keeping McMahon behind all the while. But back comes McMahon again. Edwards again leaving the inside open. It's just a case of whether McMahon will break a bit later into one of these corners. Edwards will definitely come back into the second hairpin. But McMahon will get a better exit. Is he a car ahead going into the penultimate corner? It looks like he is, and he has finally got it done. He had to work hard for it, but finally Tom McMahon gets back up into 5th place.
Edwards tried everything there to defend, didn't he? Even trying to attack back just to try and put McMahon off, but McMahon was adamant with that exchange that he was going to have that position. I kind of feel that Edwards backed out right at the end there. It's pretty dangerous to go too wide, especially in cars like these through the last couple of corners. So maybe just backing off, letting McMahon have it, and then seeing if he can come back at him at the end of the straight into the hairpin.
I mean, if Edwards works with McMahon here, he could, you know, probably catch up to the race leaders. But I think track position is so important. Edwards wanted to go for the race win seemingly, and that one's going to be tricky to do now. Still, Salt can't get past Humphrey. I don't think there's any team orders between these guys. Evo SR Green versus Evo SR. Evo SR looking very strong for the team's championship over Gold Racing Team Porsche. They've almost got that one in the bag. That one is a bit more volatile than the drivers, as there are no drop downs, so that will go down to the last round of the championship. Evo SR Green looking strong for the 3rd place in that championship as well. Yeah, and of course they've got one of their teammates out in lead, so no need to swap the cars around at the moment for Evo SR. They're quite comfortable, and look at McMahon now starting to take chunks out of these drivers. This will be a good representative lap time of what McMahon's pace is like. The race leaders doing mid 27s, 27.5 for Powell, 27.4 for Horder, 28.0 for Humphrey, and then a 27.1 for McMahon. So that's not a whole lot faster than the race leaders. So he's got to get past ASAP, does McMahon, if he's going to have any chance at a third double of the season.
He does
Sorry, it wouldn't
indeed.
be a double, apologies, but another race two is my point.
Yeah, no, it would be for sure. We've seen with these guys before that they're willing to race each other. They'll give it a good little tit for tat in their own team. As long as they don't hit each other, I don't think they mind too much. Oh, who's that with a big lock-up just ahead of Powell Tressida with a big lock-up. Dean Powell right behind him, locking up, trying to avoid him. But yeah, no, we'll see the Evo SR guys have a good old scrap, I would imagine. I kind of think when McMahon gets there, they'll probably just wave the flag, let him through. But the other guys behind will still have a good old battle, I feel.
Max Wolfe missed out on getting within the reverse grid by quite a margin in the end. We do have a 14 on the reverse grid. That's what he would have needed to be on pole. And then I think getting involved in a lap 1 incident as well. Very much a forgetful round for Max Wolfe at the moment. In 13th place, Suzuka coming up next though, and I think that's a cycle that's going to suit his driving style a bit more. He was very impressive at Silverstone, also had some good drives at Watkins Glen as well, and I think Suzuka with its high-speed corners will probably favour him a bit more next week for the season finale for the season 2 of the Apex Racing League GT Championship. Once again, just apologies for the stream issues. Thanks for tuning back in though. If you didn't watch the first race, watch it afterwards, I guess. But if you come back from watching the first race and then the stream's gone down and you've still come back, thank you very much for sticking with us, and hopefully you're enjoying the action at the moment. Tom McMahon 1.5 tenths of a second behind James Salt. We've seen Salt probably the biggest rival to McMahon within his own team so far this season, but even he is lifting off the throttle just to let the championship leader go.
Yeah, let off really early then, didn't he? Just to give him all the room, made sure that he kept Edwards behind him, which was the important thing there. Probably going to hold Edwards up just a touch, just give McMahon a little bit of breathing space. But yeah, that's one down for McMahon, and forward he goes once more.
Edwards has just gone down the inside of the Salt. You can see Salt just hesitating on the turn-in. But he's still ahead of Edwards. He stayed ahead of Edwards for the time being. Deck Holland has come into the pit. He's played back to the pits. Shame for Holland. He was really strong in race 1, then got involved in an incident. Otherwise, he could have had a good day. Very orange now. It's very orange out there. Very nice. Out in the land of the rising sun, if that's at all relevant. Horder, 1.5 seconds behind Powell now. He's actually outpaced Powell by 1/10 of a second on that last tour of the circuit. So he is keeping in range, but that gap's going to be difficult to overhaul. Humphrey just in the distance. McMahon will comfortably be past him here. Straight past, up into 3rd place now, Tom McMahon. And usually, when he's won race 2s, he's usually been fighting for the lead by this point. Instead, he's got a 5-second gap now to catch up to his teammate.
He has, and even when he didn't have the passes on his teammates there, he wasn't going that much quicker than the front guys, was he? It was only a 10th or 2, so it's going to be a tough one for him. The Japanese tarmac, as I've said before, is not nice if you're really trying to hammer the car. So he's got it all to do. It's going to be tough for him. Just incidentally, I don't know whether we saw it in that original coming together, but Daniel Lee is all the way down in 20th place. He was maybe 5th or 6th on the grid, I think, wasn't he? Starting, he's lost 15 places since the start of this race. So I wonder if he got collected in that incident as well. His lap times, I mean, he's right up there with the front guys. He's lapping good enough to be P4 at the moment. But yeah, he's right down there.
He'll gain a couple of places right there though. On the C team driver Brian Jones. By the way, just realised how similar the H2M engineering livery and the C team livery are. Quite difficult to distinguish. But Lee up into 18th place now, past Jacqueline and Jones. So yeah, he did come into the pits for a fast repair on the opening lap of the race, did Daniel Lee. And after 4th place in race 1, just really struggled to get like a perfect meeting, has Lee. so far this season. Usually, if he has a bad race one, he can recover it in race two. If he has a bad, no, if he has a good race one, he struggles to back it up in race two. But I think next season certainly going to be a championship contender because he's certainly had the pace. Not so much Daniel Truly this season. Haven't seen too much of Daniel Truly, but I think in the race he's starting to improve a bit more. I'll have to think of another pun for him next season to be good in race pace, not just qualifying pace.
He has certainly improved, hasn't he? I've got the pleasure of actually racing against him in the next season of the World GT Championship.
Oh,
Both
cool.
him and Dean Powell have signed up for H2M Engineering. So, yeah, I'll be going toe-to-toe with the adventurer. I'm quite looking forward to that. It should be a good bit of fun. McMahon, that time by, only took 2/10 out of Powell at the front and 4/10 out of Horder. So he's not really making the gains at this moment in time, is he?
No, it's not enough. You can click on the live timing link in the description below about SDK Gaming to see the gaps between all the drivers and the also their last lap time, the best lap time, and all useful information like that. Edwards is onto the back of Salt, who's temporarily not fighting with Bob Humphrey just up the road. Vysokopska 1.2 seconds behind these drivers. Vysokopska pretty much matching the race leaders and matching McMahon at the moment. What would be nice here is a safety car, and we both have the ability to call a safety car. But we will not do that. We will not do that. Of course, we wouldn't do such an atrocity. But everyone in this top 7 is really evenly matched, or at least I think Powell, Horder, McMahon, and Vysokopska, and maybe even Edwards as well, are all really evenly matched out there. It'd be tight, be a tight battle between them, but I'm not sure if they're all gonna be able to reach one another in time. If this is an hour-long race, then I think we could be in for a good one. But right now, I'm questioning whether. Well, McMahon's only 3 seconds behind Horder now, to be fair. So he is on his way.
We've already experienced the issues I've had with buttons this evening. You can't tell me that there's a safety car button somewhere on my board as well. Oh, we'll have all sorts of issues. Edwards, having a look to the inside of Salt now, has got a really good run coming up the hill, hasn't he? Moved over very early. Up the inside at the hairpin. Is Salt going to try and hang it around the outside? Yes, he is. But the drive from Edwards there was supreme. Got the job done really early. Now he's going to try and catch Bob Humphrey just up ahead.
Salt hasn't quite had the pace today, has he? I mean, usually I'd say he's probably the second fastest Evo SR. He usually has the pace on Humphrey, but today just struggling a little bit more. I mean, this is a unique circuit, and you need to put in the hours, I think, around this place to really get that extra time. But just compared to it's a little bit further back than he normally would be. Of course, this is a circuit that we haven't visited before in the Apex Racing League GT Championship. In fact, I don't think we've ever visited this place in any Apex Racing League Championship in the past. And then we go to Suzuka, which we haven't visited, certainly in the GT Championship next week as well. So some new stuff for these drivers to get their heads down. Vysokopska right onto the back now. Was 1.3 seconds faster on that last lap was Vysokopska. Of course, part of that was the overtake. But once again, should be easy enough for the 111.
It didn't seem like Salt actually lost that much time during the overtake from Edwards. So I wonder if he just had a bit of a bad end to the lap. Maybe just didn't quite hook up the car as he wanted to. But yeah, Vysokopska right onto the back of him again, less than 4/10 behind. So that's going to be done pretty quickly, I would imagine. But Edwards already a second up the road. So yeah, still a chase on for Vysokopska. McMahon another 5.5 seconds ahead from there. So all to do still.
Surely Vysokopska has some straight line difficulties. His best straight line speed is 235 what's that measured in? Kilometers an hour? That's, I think it'd be faster than 230. Oh, okay. That's a bit underwhelming. Not very quick cars, these, clearly. I could drive them easy. It's pretty much the same as my Citroen C1. No. 235 kilometers an hour is 237 newton is Vasikowska's top speed. 246 for Horder, I'm seeing, and McMahon as well. Of course, that is massively skewed because of, when you get a draft and what your launch is like from a corner. That doesn't tell us a whole lot of whether or not he's losing time due to that aero damage he could or could not sort of picked up after that big lap one contact. But it's maybe something to think about. It might just make overtakes a bit more tricky bone to pull off.
Yeah, I'm amazed that he didn't get more damage than what he did. Maybe he just got lucky and hit
Oh, he's got parts.
Kittelman square on. He has, so I've missed that because I was looking at the timing. I didn't see that, but Salt fighting back, Alex?
Yeah, and Vasikowska and to go off the circuit. It's actually a very good run with a second left-hander there, but couldn't finish it off. That wasn't unfair from Salt. Just too deep for Vasikowska trying to carry too much speed down the hill.
Yeah, pretty unfortunate. He's done all the hard work to catch up, hasn't he? And now he's had issues.
Just didn't quite grip the front end. But didn't lose much time. That will be a 1x, although he picked up a 4x in the first lap, so I still want to keep it below the 10 instance, I imagine. Because for those of you who aren't aware, if you get 0 instance, you get 1 bonus point, and then for every 10 instance you get 5 penalty points. Oh no! Civic-Sabo off the circuit, and that was must have been a mistake. I hope it was a mistake from Bloomfield, because he's way too late on the brakes, and Civic-Sabo, bad luck to him, he drops down to 13th.
Well, it seems we're all having issues because my iRacing is not playing ball, so you'll have to talk them through this one, Sam.
No problem. Well, like my exclamation was warranted, I think, as McMahon is up into second place. Horder has made a mistake, it seems. Or has he made a mistake? Well, he's quite a bit behind. He was ahead of McMahon earlier on this lap. It's in the 4th sector, whatever that means. Horder into this. Oh, he has he dipped onto the grass. You can just see him just moving to that side, and that's a slight lack of concentration there for Horder. And he's dropped from that second place down into 3rd now. And McMahon has a clear shot at Powell. And another race 2 victory, a 9th win of the season to confirm the championship, is well on course. Got 3 seconds to catch up. He's on average about quarter of a second a lap faster. And we've got ourselves about 10 laps remaining. Which means it will be close, basically. And it means that you should keep watching this broadcast, because it will be close whether Powell gets his 2nd race victory of the season or if McMahon gets his 9th. Vasikowska is still behind Salt, and Edwards still behind Humphrey. For those of you who was watching the Hungarian Grand Prix earlier on, I was mentioning to Adam earlier on how often it can be fantastic to see a driver wait behind, have to stay patient when you're racing out a circuit which has limited overtaking chances. This is certainly one of them, and we're seeing the same kind of mindset having to be used at the moment from these guys. But every lap that you stay behind it, the opportunity of the overtake does become slightly diminished. They're still 4 seconds behind Horder, so Horder still seems to have that podium secured. Would be his 3rd consecutive race 2 podium. But the battle for 4th is very intense at the moment. Vasikowska, yeah, still just 4/10 of a second behind Salt at the moment. We've also got McCullum versus Saddington further down the order. Saddington, who spun round earlier on in the race, and he's now lapping a second a lap faster than the driver ahead. Currently about 6/10 of a second between the pair. Then also Daniel Lee coming up to the back of that pack. You can keep an eye on that battle in the live timing link in the description below. Click on that. You can see the gaps between all the drivers. Humphrey gets a little bit of a jar from Paul Clist. Also, Vysokopska, you might even make this 3 wide, I thought, Vysokopska. I was waiting for Hakkinen Schumacher, or that not iRacing top 10 highlight, which in the, I think it was in the skip piece the other day, where a driver around Summit Point saw a pack marker and just drove onto the grass. I think made it like 4 wide down Summit Point, which is always smart. Had to
I saw that. That was
yeah,
brilliant.
that was a good. I mean, if he'd pulled it off, statues would have been made by now. But it was never going to work around there. I mean, with the bumpiness of that track, no chance.
Well, to be fair, his Skippy was so far buried into that tire wall. They probably have made a statue out of it because they got no hope of getting it out.
Yeah.
McMahon only matching Powell that time by, which is surprising. But we've seen this the last couple of meetings, haven't we? Where he doesn't seem to get that much closer, and then all of a sudden he's right on the tailcoats of the car he's chasing. So maybe he's just cooling off the tyres a little bit. Got a little over 10 minutes left. Maybe just preparing himself to kind of go again, make another big push. Horder maintaining the gap to Humphrey. It looks like Tressida is having an okay race, isn't he? Putting pressure on Broomfield ahead, who's had a bit of a torrid night this evening. But Tressida is knocking on the door of Broomfield, saying, I'd like to be further into the top 10, please, and try and chase down Copeland, who's just up the road. We can see.
Vysokopska and Salt. I think Vysokopska may have gone off the circuit again, because he got past Salt and then he's lost the pace again. A furious battle for 6th and 7th. You're right about Chester though. Top 10 would be good points for him. Dean Powell coming back well. I think Powell had an issue earlier on, did he? Or maybe that was race 1, not sure. But no, he's come back quite strong at the moment. Is Powell just sitting behind them in 11th place? There is Vysokopska. 4/10 of a second behind Salt. He was momentarily ahead down in the hairpin. But then lost it soon after. Also, Daniel Lee just gets him past. Dan Saddington further down the order. Those guys might even be laps. Seems like Powell and McMahon. McMahon is very consistent. Every lap he's in the 27.2, 27.3. Whereas Powell is a bit intermittent. He can get into the 27.2s, but I've seen 27.6s from him in the past, 27.7s, and then that's like 27.4. So I think it's mainly focused on what Aaron Powell does now. I think you can rely that McMahon will bash in those lap times. I think it's whether or not Powell makes enough kind of small mistakes which allows McMahon back into the play.
I think you're right. Yeah, he is. He's not as consistent as McMahon, and as we've seen McMahon all season, he is relentless. He'll just keep putting in the lap times. The lap times will get quicker and quicker. It seems over the course of the night. When everyone's tyres are going off, he's still putting in personal bests. So I think you're right. It is dependent on Powell and whether or not he can actually string together the last 8 minutes of this race and kind of keep it semi-consistent. But Edwards right on the back of Humphrey. Humphrey's not going to make it easy for him, is he? We know how quick Humphrey can be. Edwards got a little bit tangled up with Horder in the last race, so maybe looking for something a little bit cleaner this time round to get P4. But as soon as these two start fighting, I kind of feel that'll be the end of any chase that they might have to get to Horder in P3.
I think Horder, if anything, is pulling away at the moment. Horder 27.5. Humphrey only a 27.8 that last time, and that was a bit slower. Salt and Vysokopska a couple of tenths faster. Oh, here comes Vysokopska. Surely this time, surely. Salt tries to cover it off, but he's just too wide. And it's usually you say, it's over at this point, but it's really not. It could the outside line has worked so well at the hairpin. Vysokopska sticks it back down the inside. Back comes Salt. Vysokopska tries to squeeze him. Salt with a lot of curve there and a bit of grass. There's surely contact on the corner entry. There's certainly contact on the corner exit. And they're still alongside. Vysokopska, though, manages to get to the inside of the track. Salt with a lot of speed, but that is too much speed, understeers to the outside. And Vaitakowska, after about 15 minutes of battling, he's finally up into 6th place.
Neither of them wanted to give it up, did they? There was Thor banging, there was Will banging, there was everything in that. Neither of them wanted to give it up. Both gave 110%. That was brilliant. I'm glad that we didn't have any rogue panel hooking and whatnot that we've seen recently in the TCR. I'm glad that they both got through it in one piece, and yeah, what a great little battle that was. Interesting to see if Visa Kopsika can, if Edwards can, no, it was Visa Kopsika can pull away from Salt now. We'll have to keep an eye on that one. Powell making a move on Tressida, throwing up the inside of turn one. We haven't seen many moves into turn one tonight, have we? And this is why. You can get on the power pretty early. Tressida trying to fight back, but Powell covering him off that time by.
Powell taking a compromised line. I don't think he really needs to cover that off. We've seen very few moves into that corner, even though I've been overtaken countless times into that right hand. I don't think we've seen any moves there either. Hairpin is going to be a chance for Chester 2/10 to a second behind once again. Taking a kind of squaring off the corner is Powell. Turning into the corner pretty early, but now he can start to stretch his legs around this part of the lap. Got to be so patient through these hairpins. I think we were riding on board earlier on. You kind of appreciate just how slow these corners are. And they're totally the opposite of kind of what a driver kind of thrives for, but you've got to be so patient through these couple of corners, particularly the second one as you go uphill, tricky with the traction. And then you can start to unwind through these final couple of corners. Humphrey 0.3 of a second ahead of Edwards. This is the closest battle currently going on out on circuit. Down to 0.8 of a second in the lead. McMahon with a 27.0. And like I said, Powell dipping back into the 27.6s. He can't do that level of times. He needed to stay in the 0.2s or the 0.3s. And he's allowed McMahon to catch up to him. That's going to be a tight battle for the remaining 3 laps or so of this race. I think we will we'll get 3 more laps to go after this one.
There's a mega lock up there from Humphrey. Lucky that Edwards saw it early and didn't run into the back of him, but he locked up for a long time. But Powell seems to be struggling just a touch, doesn't he? It's kind of weird how he's running better here than he does at other tracks, but you can see how he is, like he said to us before. Watkins is the track that he excels at. You can see that he's kind of almost there with this track, but it's just a matter of time. I feel now, isn't it? Another 27.6 there, 27.0 from McMahon, a 27.7 for Horder behind. I don't know. Is he going to get it done? Is he going to get close enough? And is there going to be any team orders in play? They're the questions that we need answers to, Sam. And we've only got 3 minutes left to find them out.
4.5 tenths. If he survives this lap, then I think there will be a bit of belief there for him, because we'll have 2 more laps to go after this one. He should be fine into the hairpin here. Oh, he's defending fresh air. And that's just going to put him offline. It's going to allow McMahon to get a bit closer. Vaitakowska passes Edwards. That is probably team more there. Oh, Edwards has made a mistake. Edwards has gone off the circuit somewhere. Probably down into the hairpin or something. And he's dropped behind Salt as well. Oh, contact! And Salt spun round. I don't know who came across on who. Copeland might be able to take advantage of this, although Salt just stays ahead. And this is how it happens. So Vaitakowska's already, Edwards has already gone off the circuit. And then, well, we'll see what the stewards decide after the race. And Salt skates off the track. Edwards remains in 6th place. To the lead, though. 2 laps to go. Horder's now dropped down. Horder's down to 5th. So Vaitakowska's up into 4th, and Humphrey up into 3rd. I think that Humphrey's only 2nd podium of the season. As we have a quick look at what's happened, it's another unforced error. I don't want to be harsh on Mike, but he has got a little bit of a tendency for this after the Spa rounds where he had a couple of spins, and of course race 1 as well where he had a spin. And he's made another mistake, dipping your wheel onto the grass, and he's down into 5th place. Very fortunate that Edwards and Salt had their issue, otherwise he'd be a couple of places lower than that. Here comes McMahon, closest that he's been, but not close enough. Powell with 1.5 laps to survive.
It's back up against the wall now, isn't it? With that Horder one, he'd done that a few times in practice, and I was hoping that he had kind of got out of doing those, but it's come back to haunt him in the most horrible way. Look at this. Powell again. He's taking such a tight line, isn't he? He's defending before McMahon's making any moves, which is not the way you want to be doing it. Really, you're compromising yourself. You're slowing yourself down even more, and you're telegraphing the positions to McMahon before he's even got to him. So I mean, McMahon's so close coming out this last corner. Is he going to make a move down into turn 1? Powell defending really early on, isn't he? Almost going over to the pit wall at that point, just trying to fend McMahon off. Manages to stay ahead just at this moment in time, though.
McMahon knows that he just needs to get Powell offline through these next couple of corners, and he will have a great chance into the hairpin. The hairpin is almost undefendable. As long as you've got good racecraft, you should be able to make the move. McMahon round the outside. Powell slow on the inside. He just wants to get a good exit. But McMahon deep into the draft. Powell, which side will he cover? He covers the inside. Alongside, for the final time in this race, McMahon still behind, but he's much deeper on the brakes. Is it going to be a mighty move to seal the championship? He's got the inside for the left-hander. Powell will stay alongside, but McMahon surely has the upper hand at this point. Powell again playing good speed round the outside, but McMahon has got it done, and there is surely no way coming back now for the American. It's a late change at Okayama, and it is some way to seal the championship as well. He just needed to keep it safe. He's done more than that today to confirm this season. He won British GT, remember, in the GT3 class, and he's going to win the second season of the Apex Racing League GT Championship as well. Tom McMahon wins race 2 at Okayama, and he wins the championship as well. Behind them, Humphrey beats Vysokowska, who did get ahead for a moment, but he couldn't stay ahead. It won't be another podium for Vysokowska, and it won't be the championship as well. Humphrey makes it an Evo SR 1, 2, 3, and it strengthens their hold as well on the team's championship. Horder finishing in 5th, Edwards in 6th, and Salt in 7th. Copeland finishes top of the amateur drivers and moves into the championship lead in the amateur class with 1 round to go as well. Some drive there from McMahon. One of the best drives I think we've seen from him all season long, and you know that's saying a lot, because he was really held up by Edwards in those opening stages, Adam, but had the pace to overhaul and then showed his impeccable racecraft for that last lap move.
They might be teammates, but boy, was he made to work for that position. Wow. But once again, you know, he's relentless. He's irresistible. He just keeps coming at you. And he makes sure that if you're going to defend, you're going to defend properly. And yeah, what a drive from him again. Lap 1 incidents, he managed to just about get through that and then fought back, didn't he? So brilliant drive from him once again, a worthy champion.
Yeah, going into this round of the championship, he had a 73-point lead. He needed to stay about 60 points would confirm it, basically. So if he outscored Vysokowska, then he'd be fine, and that's what he's done today with that second place. Pretty much matches Vysokowska's points today after Vysokowska took the race 1 victory, and Tom McMahon is your GT Season 2 champion there. Congratulations to him. All the drivers are across the line, and we can go through the results. Tom McMahon wins out for the 9th time this season. It's his 4th race 2 victory. 1, 2... Yep, 4th race 2 victory. Congratulations to him. Aaron Powell finishes in 2nd place, so close to a 2nd race victory. But McMahon courts him, and McMahon overswing. I don't think Powell will regret that one too much. Maybe he would have fought it a bit harder if it wasn't his teammate, but there wasn't a whole lot he could do on that last lap. Bob Humphrey, just a solid Bob Humphrey day, really. Fifth and third places, I believe. Make bites of Kopsuka after a big crash on lap one. That's a good recovery to fourth. Mike Horder, couple of spins today, but still fifth place, showing his real improvement throughout the season. Taj Edwards in sixth, James Salt, those two coming together in seventh, just behind. Then it was Kevin Copeland, who is now the amateur championship leader. Should have a solid lead going to the final round of the championship. Stephen Broomfield finished in ninth, and Dean Powell rounding out the top 10. Then it was John Chessida, Max Wolf, Daniel Sibi Sabo, Brendan Warren, Daniel Lee after a pit stop, Dan Saddington, Andre McCullen, Carl Jacquelet, Ryan Jones, Paul Clist, Derek Holland, Jensen Adjinsons, and Kevin Kitzelman. The last four of them all not finishing the race. Maybe Clist finished the race, but he was too outside. Won't score points, unfortunately, will the driver in 20th place. So a couple of interviews now, and well, we're very happy to have our race one second place, our race two winner, and our champion, Tom McMahon. Congratulations. I was mentioning in commentary how you've won British GT already, but I imagine this feels even better, especially after a couple of tricky seasons in the GT class. You've got your hands back on a trophy.
Oh, it's epic. I really enjoyed the season, and it was hard. Like, I know I've done really well, like better than I thought I would in terms of like how many race wins that I've got. But yeah, both of those races just then were kind of, I guess, a showcase of what this league's about. Like the racing was really good. Yeah, I guess I had lower expectations for this season purely because I couldn't get any luck, and then after Silverstone race 2, I was like, oh, here we go again. But pulled it round, and yeah, delighted.
Take us through your take us through race one, because you were really close to make at the start of the race, and then you kind of just dropped back, and you didn't seem that kind of determined for the race win. Were you just trying to settle for second place, take the points, or did you want that race win just as much as ever?
Also, there was that I think it was lap 3 where I got really close, and Mate left a tiny bit down the inside, but I couldn't really see my break points. I was like, no, you don't need to do anything stupid. And I was still determined, but it was a case of one, championship was in the back of my mind, and two, it's such a tricky little track to be really consistent. So I thought I'll just settle in, and if Mate makes a mistake, then we're in. If he doesn't, fair play. And yeah, that's what happened. I don't think he made one mistake. Tried to put a little bit more pressure towards the end, got a little bit closer, sort of got the gap under half a second. But yeah, as I said, it's a tricky track. So yeah, race one was just get the points, bag the points, and then we'll see what we could do race 2.
And then we've just seen your race start for race 2. You were the only car in that area who avoided the spinning cars just ahead, avoided Adkinson's who was spinning round. That was must have been yeah, your life flashing before your eyes there.
It was. I saw it kind of happening, and I think Daniel Lee was ahead of me, and I saw him go to the grass, and I just, well, we're going to follow you, and luckily got through. And then I was obviously swamped from the people behind, so it was kind of a case of gather myself and then start to work my way back up.
So one more about well, actually another question about race 2. Well, Edwards kept you behind for a while. Were you did you always feel like you could win? Were you always kind of looking at the relative to what the front runners were? Because behind Edwards, you were losing some pretty costly time.
No, race 2 was very much just stick with Make. If I follow Make home, then that's fine. So then it was a case of I just wanted to get some cars between me and him. And Taj put up such a good defense. That was really intense. And then I guess it was after I passed him that I was kind of thinking podium, maybe second. And then Mike Horder just dropped it all on his own. So then I was like, oh, I'm in second. I'll try and push up to Aaron, but I'm not going to throw the car off the track trying to do it. Then I saw on the relative Make started to make his way back up. And I had no idea really about like the points and all that kind of stuff. So it was a case of, right, let's speed up again, like put the hammer down, caught Aaron, and then just went for it and hopefully put on a nice little show at the end.
Yeah, it was absolutely awesome to see that that last battle. We've got Suzuka next. Um, is that one that you're looking forward to? I mean, me and Adam were drawing many similarities from that track to Spa and Watkins Glen with kind of the blend of corners. In those two rounds, I mean, Watkins Glen you struggled a little bit. Spa Make was extremely strong. Do you think do you kind of draw comparisons to that to those circuits as well?
I just know that it will be close like it has been all season. There's been tracks where Barcelona, namely, where I felt I've had really good pace. Watkins, obviously, I was a little bit behind where I wanted to be. So, yeah, I think, Spa's a nice comparison. It will be really close. Hopefully, we can just have some good racing and see what happens. I've raced it a few times on iRacing, not loads, so it'll be another nice track to get stuck into and enjoy now that the pressure's kind of off.
Definitely. We still got the team's championship to win, remember? Which
Oh yeah.
that's the big one, Tom. Don't
Well,
forget that.
haven't we? I think we did a splendid job this round though, with a 1 and 2 and 3 and a 1-2. So I think we're in a good spot. We just need to seal that deal.
Yes. Best of luck for that one. Is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to?
As always, the racing, just to all the drivers, the racing was, for me anyway, was brilliant. So shout out to everyone, EVSR guys for the practice, and you guys, again, I say it week in, week out, but I do really enjoy this league. So thank you for organising and thank you for the awesome stream, which I look forward to watching.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Tom, and see you at Suzuka next week.
See you next week, guys. Cheers.
Tom McMahon there, your pro and overall drivers champion. Next up, we will talk with Daniel Lee, who is standing by with Adam Hedgecock.
He is indeed. Good evening, Daniel. Another mixed bag for you this evening, it seems. P4 in race 1. It seemed like the night was starting off really well.
Yeah, race 1 was all right. It wasn't the most action-packed race at all, but it definitely felt like everybody in the top 8, at the very least, had their heads down, working as hard as they possibly could. And you've got to admire Visa Kopsika and McMahon's pace out front. It takes something really special to pull out the 10, 11-second lead against the rest of the field and fighting as well. No doubt they were, because they were within a second of each other. But save for an incident between Taj and Mike, there wasn't a lot going on in terms of positions. James Salt was behind me by 2 seconds, and that figure did not move. I knew if I made a mistake, there was not going to be any kind of a recourse. I wouldn't be able to catch him up again. So it really was a case of don't make a mistake, get to the end. And P4 for that was quite a decent exchange rate. I wasn't as fast as the guys in the very, very front, but that was the best that could be done.
It's quite a tricky and technical circuit. As you said here, you were like a train for the most part of race 1. How much do you do the whole risk reward of do I make a move? Do I hold station? How often can you see a place where you think, oh, you know what, I can have a go here?
You know what, that is a question that I'd love to be able to answer, but for the whole of race 1, I was pretty much in an air sandwich. There was 2 seconds between me and the pack of cars in front. They were Aaron Powell, Taj Edwards, and Mike Horder, and there was 2 seconds clear between me and Jane Salt. So there was no chances to really make moves. In race 2, that was a lot different, but that was on an uneven keel. So really speaking, in terms of racecraft and demanding that decision to send it in or not, didn't really get the opportunity, particularly not in race 1.
Speaking of race 2, we saw the big incident coming up the hill on lap 1. We didn't quite catch what happened to you. We heard Tom saying that you took to the grass. What happened from your eyes on that?
Yeah, it pretty much was that. I believe it was Kittleman who found himself getting turned around in the middle of a track, and that is always a recipe for disaster. So what do? You got about half a second to make a decision once you know somebody's going round, and my decision was to just try and go around it. It ended up with me going on the grass and clouting the concrete wall on the left, just enough to make the car crunch into a crisp packet. There was too much damage to carry on without dipping into the pits and getting it straightened out quickly. So there I was with what seemed like a decent launch pad to get a good result in race 2, and that's out the window. So I'm limping back to the pits, having another little spin on the way back as well because it didn't want to turn left without losing the rear end. It was in the right state, but got in the pits, came out with 40 seconds to spare between me and the front of the grid. Because if you come out behind the leaders, you're pretty much stuck there. You're not going to get any kind of positions back at all. So was happy to get out in front of the actual field and make a fight from there. But as Tom probably described it, it really was a case of flip a coin, which way are you going to go? And I didn't come off very well on that.
No, it's a shame to see. Yeah, because up until that point, you looked pretty racy going through the first few corners. It looked like you could actually make something of it. So a shame for that one. Another technical track next week in Suzuka, notoriously tough to get right. How do you go there?
Love Suzuka for sure. I wouldn't say it's one of those tracks where I feel like I've got really, really, really good pace. That would be places like Sebring, etc. But it's good. It is fun, quite challenging. There are lots of opportunities for cars to overjudge a corner and go out wide. There's grass on the edges. There's bound to be quite a lot of room for maneuvers as well. Hairpins, swooping S's. It's got a lot. So Suzuka will be a good place to end the season with. And so long as I can just keep clear of other people's incidents, then it should be a nice way to cap it off.
Just one last question, just for my own peace of mind. We can see that you're pretty quick in the Ferrari GTE. How good are you in the GT3?
The GT3 is like a big brother to the GTE, despite being a class down. It definitely feels heavier. Tires aren't as good, but the GT3 version of that 488 is also my kind of car. Me and Dean Powell did a 3-hour VRS endurance race a long time ago. It was our first endurance event, loved it and came in first. So we've definitely got whatever it is that you need to make that Ferrari work. So yeah, watch out in that.
Looks like I've got my work cut out. Daniel, pleasure as always. Before we let you go, do you want to give any shout outs?
Just to you guys, really, for hosting the season, organising it. Thank you very much for the broadcast and for organising the league. So thank you very much.
No worries, Daniel. We'll see you next week in Suzuka.
See you there.
Daniel Lee.
Daniel Lee.
Finishing in 4th place and 15th place. Certainly, if we had Apex Racing League Brian Cox impression, Daniel Lee would win without doubt. Brian Cox, the scientist, not the Hollywood actor from the Bourne films. What accent is that?
Yes, I have got no idea.
But it's similar. You're not gonna be. Have you ever noticed that before? Because if you haven't, you're not gonna be able to unrecognize it now.
I hadn't noticed it before, and yeah, it's.
Sorry about that.
Why do you do this to me, Sam?
Anyway, well, I'm sure he'll be back next week, hopefully for his first win of the season. Daniel Lee, but once again, Tom McMahon winning out the championship. But there's still more championships to be decided next week. Most of all, the amateur championship, which I think is going to be ever so close going to the final round. We've got Copeland. Copeland should have a decent lead, I think. I think Stevens dropped Stevens missed today. but Copeland should have maybe like a 20-point lead. But in that amateur class, it's so volatile with being in the mid pack and so easy to get a non-finish. That's going to come right down to the wire.
It is. We see it in all sorts of leagues. Yeah, that last race, you don't want to be caught up in anyone else's mistakes, errors, crashes. It's all about keeping your nose clean. And I mean, generally over the course of this season, everyone's been pretty well behaved when it's come to crashes. They've held their brakes on the most part. The drivers behind have slowed down. We haven't seen anyone absolutely torpedoing into an incident. So fingers crossed we don't have to deal with that next week. But yeah, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tight, and like the season, it's going to be nip and tuck all the way to the end, I think.
Absolutely. So need to tune in for that one next week at the same time on the iRacing Esports Network and on Apex Racing TV. If you've enjoyed this video, please leave a like on it. We super appreciate that, and subscribe to the iRacing Esports Network and subscribe to Apex Racing TV as well, because we've got loads of streams going on Apex Racing TV. Probably 15 odd per week. And we've got races on all times of the day. So we've got some European ones, we've got some American ones, and we've got some Australian ones as well. So whichever takes your fancy, whichever parts of the globe you're located, I'm sure there'll be something for you to watch on that front. But remember, next week, same time, Suzuka for the final round of this Apex Racing League GT Season 2. But for now, from me, Sam Fitzpatrick, from Adam Hedgecock, and from Alex Simpson, and also from Sam Kumo, we're going to say goodbye. And it's Tom McMahon, the champion overall of this Apex Racing League GT Season 2. See you next time at Suzuka.